Awesome. Cool. Excited to kick this off with you guys. Pranav, Aaron, thanks for joining this live stream. Yeah, let's get into it. Would you mind giving us a round of intros?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, Nima. Aaron this side, building for 17 years, worked with SAP Labs Intel, and then Pranav and I have been working together for 11 years together. Our first startup was Octo.ai, which got acquired. Our second startup was Cortic.ai, which built autonomous agents for manufacturing, work with Fortune hundreds. And now we're building FereAI. FereAI is a very simple pitch. We're building autonomous agents which help users do research and trading on chain.
Awesome. And myself, Pranav, I've been building for about same 17 odd years. Worked with LinkedIn, SlideShare, search and information retrieval has been core areas that I love, and definitely using AI and building things that interest people for closer to 2 decades now. Yeah, a lot of history Aaron and I share with FereAI. I think there's a lot of opportunity in building trading agents, which can actually help a lot of people.
Awesome, appreciate that. Well, we can get into the specifics, I guess, of trading agents, the tool calls, etc., that they need to make to be more and more autonomous. But before we get into that, Pranav, you said you've worked on, information systems and like scaling those up and like architecting different kind of like, systems. How have you seen what has been done, I guess, in the past like two or so decades evolve into what's currently kind of being done in the new like AI infrastructure meta?
I think the foundations of it has always been there. Whenever we were building on these so-called pre-AI era search systems, they still were using embeddings in one way or the other, right? So it was still about information retrieval in the first place. So this is the most important bit, and it's still relevant today whenever we are building systems that pick information, whether it's a real-time information or a static piece of information coming from enterprises. Uh, Picking the right information is of the utmost importance, and I think having an understanding of how this information retrieval in theory works and been working with it for different use cases, right? So when you look at information retrieval in
Mhm.
context of recommending, for example, LinkedIn posts or any videos or other content to user, you're looking at a very different kind of content versus when let's say you are recommending for certain kind of trades to take or certain kind of user behavior based on what their previous purchases have been, their past actions have been. So this is a lot more real time. It needs a lot dynamic information, not only coming from the nature of content, but also the community and the vibe around it. So I think
Mhm.
this has been the biggest evolution in what I've seen.
Got it. Aaron, anything from your end that you want to maybe highlight?
No, I think on this, Pranav is the master and he covered
Okay.
most of it. That old school
Yeah,
still works, man. Like it's garbage in, garbage out, right? For AI
right,
and ML. So I
right,
think the old laws are still applicable for the new generation of models and will
right.
keep remaining to be applicable when we move on further.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of interesting because it touches on the SLM trend as well, right? And that like the reasoning capabilities of the smaller models could be good for like a certain context, but it's still that reasoning
Absolutely.
trace will have to happen over like the right context engineering or the right data that you feed into it. So I think we're just at the precipice of how these things can be much more useful in production systems. So with having said that, yes, let's talk about Farah and what you guys are building specifically. What is that?
So, I think at a very top level, as I explained, autonomous agents for research and trading. If I break it
Mhm,
down into even simpler components, right? Imagine
mhm,
a future where your AI agent is actually your intern who has access to a laptop, a browser, and a wallet. That's all you need in today's time to work in crypto, right? Like you don't need a lot of other tools, hardcore tools. So this is what we are trying to build, a very easy gateway for users to come and actually use crypto in a much simpler paradigm. One thing I think which has helped is in the last 3 years now 800 million people use ChatGPT, right?
mhm.
Chat as an interface is much more native to the current youngsters or today's audience users than our old school ways of using a computer and the internet. Like search is being done through ChatGPT, right? So I
Hmm.
think chat becoming such a prevalent interface, our aim is right now to expose these agents to users and for them to do all sorts of DeFi activities by just plain chat or talking to them in a way, right? And as we
Hmm.
keep getting better and better, our core focus technically is still how to create autonomous agents who can work in a longer term horizon. Like currently, everything stops in after 10 minutes of reasoning or 5 minutes of reasoning, right? For us, the challenge here is how do we, let's say, create an agent which can trade for the next 6 months continuously, which
Hmm.
means capturing data from 6 months, looking at narrative changes which happen very quickly in crypto, buying, selling. So it's a very complex, multivariate problem when you look at a longer term horizon compared to something as simple as saying, hey, buy me a token right now. Right.
Hmm.
So our core focus is trying to solve those, and this is where I guess how we guys connected, right, and how we
Hmm.
started using EigenAI, because
Hmm.
as you start moving the time horizon and looking at agents trying to solve for 6 to 12 months, everything breaks, right? There's a whole graph which says now currently the state of the art is 21 days of work, which can be continuously automated, but things break. And
Hmm.
things break due to determinism. So
Hmm.
these are some of the problems we're trying to solve with chats like you guys, where
Hmm.
we are hoping to build systems which operate like real humans.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'll let you unpack the problem statement a bit more on the determinism piece or how non-determinism is, making things a bit hard for you guys. But just to sort of set the context here, so EigenAI is as an LLM inference API, right? It is the world's first deterministic LLM inference API in production, which is kind of a different take on how have generally thought about how LLMs work, right? There's a widely held notion that these things are non-deterministic by nature, and that every prompt you give them produces a different response, right? Whereas that might not necessarily work, especially like when you're trying to do agentic evaluations and have a sort of robust confidence in your agent doing stuff, especially in longer horizon tasks, as you said, right? So yeah, let's dive into specifically how this determinism aspect is helping you guys for planning, tool calling, things like that. I don't know if Pranav,
Pranav?
you want to take that or
Right.
Aaron.
So yeah, then let me take that up. So I think one of the things that we always wanted was being able to reliably run the same complex set of operations over and over again. And when I say complex set of operations, it involves things like, find me all the trending tokens between a certain market cap and fulfilling a certain set of criteria, and then performing social research on it, performing TA on it, being able to figure out what kind of stop losses, take profits, etc. should be set for this, and then being able to actually praise that order, retry in case of any slippage or gas issues, etc. So these are the kind of operations that a typical trader does on a day-to-day basis. And what we have seen is that this is the part that at a product level we are automating, but a lot of it depends on at that very specific moment how was your language model behaving. And a lot of times we have seen that even the production language models, they have variations in their outputs, even if you keep pretty much everything else the same. And this is what was kind of a blocker for us in order to be able to build such a reliable system. Working with EigenAI, this is the part that got us solved, right? Because now we are able to uh, verifiably and deterministically produce the same repeated set of instructions across multiple runs. We are actually working on a feature. It should go live pretty soon. But this feature is all about you being able to schedule more and more complex tasks to your agents and let the agent perform on it. So yeah, I think this is the beauty of it. Aaron, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, also, Nima, one of the interesting things is so there is one aspect of determinism, but I
Hmm.
think in crypto, just because we're now touching enterprise, right,
Hmm.
verifiability or verifiable results is just at the tip of the iceberg, so to say. And
Hmm.
Pranav and I kind of spent last 7 years selling software, autonomous agents to Fortune 500s, right? So
Right.
one thing which also enables right now is a beautiful audit trail, like something which is completely missing from the web 2 inference class, right?
Hmm.
right? Like I cannot walk into the big companies and ask them to put millions of dollars on autonomous agents if there is no verifiability. Like
Hmm.
determinism for them is still understood as part of the stack, right? They feel
Right.
that you maybe will build a guardrail, but verifiability on its own and enabling audit trails is something which is, I think, necessary to get those
Hmm.
billions of dollars from TradFi into crypto,
Hmm.
right? And I
Right.
think we are right there at that edge where tools like ours with verifiability like yours can enable that. I
Right.
think that is also a very big unlock because enterprise is also going to add a lot of value and volume,
Hmm.
especially to what we do, right? Because people want stuff which is there 24/7,
Right.
and AI is absolutely useful there.
Yeah, I mean the power that these LLMs hold and being able to like take unstructured or even structured input and like spitting out other kind of unstructured or structured output, right? And just being able to interpret across different modalities as well gives you like a very, very like flexible kind of like power mechanism, right? To just like interpret information, right? But on top of this, you would want probably the reproducibility or like, the ability to just audit how something actually happened, and that lowers kind of debugging time. Like de-risks like compliance concerns. There's a whole bunch of like there's a big design space basically that gets unlocked here because you know before LLMs were a thing, everyone was like just used to how software was running deterministically. That's an expectation, right? And then after LMs came along, and you're like, oh yeah, we'll just accept that this thing is not deterministic. Well, like, no, that's like a pretty high price to ask. Like, it's like you can't just give up like non-determinism in many cases. So yeah, this definitely tracks. But I don't know, Pranav or Aaron, which one of you wanted to kind of share your screen and run through like a demo of some sort, maybe?
I think Pranav can actually share the scheduling flow which we have because that shows
Mhm.
the value of
Yep.
determinism of a longer term horizon very well.
Sure.
Sure. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is from a local setup. This is one of the pre-baked features we are testing right now, and this is what I was talking you with. I mentioned scheduling, right? So, for example, I want to do a DCA on one of my favorite meme coins, which is, let's say, useless coin, right? So I can
Mhm.
simply go ahead and say something like, buy me, let's say, $10 worth of useless on Solana every day at 10 a.m. Right, and that's all that I need to do. Now
Mhm.
it will itself figure out and schedule this thing, and we'll keep on seeing this run again and again. So this is an example of how you go ahead and set this up. Now this is a simple example wherein somebody is doing DCA on a particular single coin, but you can
Mhm.
think of it as more complex use cases wherein you can go ahead and perform DCA on multiple coins, or you can write a prompt that is going to schedule the perform a bit of research and then figure out which coins to do DCA on, and maybe automatically rebalancing your portfolios.
Mhm.
So, okay, once you
Now, just
confirm the
to add here,
contract
Nima,
entries,
right?
yeah.
Like looking at 88% determinism from most generic providers, if you
Mhm.
do something 100 times and out of that 12 times you get the wrong contract address or the wrong
Right.
transaction is done, that's a massive problem, right? So,
Yeah.
this is where also the determinism aspect helps us a lot because when it now look at this example, right? There are five useless tokens, right? Useless coin, the
Mhm.
same name. Determinism becomes even more important here because in multiple runs at times we noticed earlier when we couldn't release this feature because of this was
Mhm.
that out of 50 runs out of 58 times if it's resolving at runtime it will pick the wrong token.
Mhm.
Now how do you solve for that? You can't really solve for that because we don't
Right.
control any of the LLMs OpenAI
Yeah.
or all of these guys are building, right?
Mhm.
So that is a massive problem to solve.
Mhm.
So yeah, this seems like the one, right, with 288 million market cap. Nice. And
Yep. So
yep,
now this
this
entire thing is an agentic flow, by the way. So
Right.
everything is
Yeah.
happening here is being actually done by a deterministic agent, which is, let's say, going on Twitter, figuring out what people are talking
right,
about it, trying to
Hmm.
summarize it, scanning the internet to see where it was found. Is it on YouTube, whatever, anything which is correlated. So it'll pick up thousands and tens of thousands of tweets because this is a common word, useless.
Hmm.
But yeah, but it'll actually scan through it
Extremely
and
common.
figure out. Yeah. So it'll
right,
actually, now what it did was just figured all of this out from social media about whale activity,
Right.
trading volume, market performance. So you kind of save 30-40 minutes. But again, going
nice.
back to how we also love using EigenAI is, any nonsense here is also a bad thing, because people are going to put real money on this research. People are going to actually put their money, right? So if
Hmm.
it goes wrong, anything goes wrong, that's actually the bad system design. And we
Hmm.
can't tell a user that, oh, I'm so sorry, Google or OpenAI decided to give a random answer this time.
Right.
It's impossible to trace, in fact. Now, for this
Yeah.
query especially, nothing changed, if you notice, right? The same contract remains, everything same remains. The task is done deterministically, which is the most important bit for us.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of an odd
Right.
experience if someone goes onto this like, portal and they like run the same query and they're like, what do you mean like you're giving me a different like token address? That makes like no sense.
Sure, and then the user can just go there and you can look at all the previous tasks that you have scheduled and look at their individual runs. So this is my local runtime. So one of the microservices for
Hmm.
providing the actual transaction isn't working. So some of the transactions won't be there, but when it goes to production, all of this is what is going to be working. But this
Hmm.
is essentially how you see all your past transactions, all the details, and so on and so forth. So this becomes your single interface to pretty much use
Hmm.
smart intelligence to do repeated works in a much better, much more efficient way.
Right. And then as you get more confident in your trading agents doing more complicated tasks, you probably end up giving it more and more funds so that it can do more things,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we're also adding verifiability traces, etc. Right? I
Hmm.
think again it becomes important that there's a difference between $100 and 100,000. The
Right.
minute someone puts $100,000 in our system, they want that verifiability. That,
Right.
dude, this was the prompt, this was the output, it went to the right model, right?
Right.
Without that, it's kind of like a black box.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe to zoom out a little bit here, Pranav, were there other parts of the flow or Farah you just wanted to kind of illustrate while we're on the topic anyway? There's like, a whole bunch of stuff that can happen, so just curious.
And do you want to go ahead
Yeah, let me
or
share
anything
my
specific you
screen.
want me to share?
No, I can share my screen. Let me share my screen. Tell me when you can see it.
Yep, you're good.
Awesome. So, as I said, Nima, like the top level is still trying to make crypto easy for people, right? So, one of the
Hmm.
flows people regularly do is go to DexScreen or
Hmm.
any of these popular websites and actually look for trending tokens, right?
Hmm.
Trending tokens on Solana, volume more than 100K. So we've started, so we still want our agents to behave like humans. So hence we have taught them this. They'll actually go, they'll figure out from different sources that, okay, this is the trending token list. Let me figure everything about it. It'll actually kind of fetch you data and will give you an inference on top of that.
Hmm.
So it was very important for us that this Solana doesn't become Ethereum or base or anything, right? As a
Hmm.
user, you're looking for something very specific. So yeah, it figured it out. It got me volume greater than this in the 24 hours. And I can actually just check for the token. I think we just covered that. You can check the chart, you can check
Hmm.
social metrics, so you can actually go deep and say, what are people saying about I was going to write Eigen. Actually, I can write Eigen. Let me give you another example. What are people saying about Eigen on Twitter and Farcaster? So again, very human-like activity, right? Check my
Hmm.
socials, figure out what's happening with my social. So
Hmm.
it'll actually do that, and I think we've built one of the more interesting search mechanisms here, because a search is not pure web search. It does web search also, but it will also do social media search. It will try and figure out Twitter and Farcaster as well on what's
Mhm.
actually happening there. So if you notice, it actually picked up tweets on Eigen. It
Mhm.
picked up tweets from Far. It picked up casts from Farcaster on Eigen,
Mhm.
and then it will give you a very holistic search result. This is again something
Oh, nice.
where, yeah, this is something where multiple tool calls happen. So again, determinism becomes a key aspect. A lot of
Right.
people fail here because some tools won't be called, some would be called, etc. Right? But yes, it got everything. What is it's
I
talking
think,
about how you guys hold 85% of restaking.
yeah, I know it's
Pick-
crazy how there's like $18 billion of protocol TBL right there.
exactly.
The thing that's kind of cool here though is the verifiability and auditability piece that you mentioned, right? It's like
Yes.
if you ask ChatGPT and or any web search tool really, right? Out
Yep.
of like it tells you like some number of citations that it has for like what sources it looked up, right? But what's interesting is that because it tells you these citations, you think it's like doing an exhaustive crawl, right?
Call.
But you don't
Agreed.
actually know the global set of sources that it's looked at, right? So like let's say like it
True.
actually has access to 100 set of sources, like 100 sources, but it only like showed you like 75 of them, right? Why did it not show you the other 25, right? Whereas
Agreed.
if you have verifiability or transparency into how like um basically that it had access to the 100 sources that it looked at, right?
Yep.
And then it chose to use those 75. You then have a reasoning trace or some kind of like, transparency into why the 25 weren't chosen. And then if you want to
Absolutely.
make if you want to make your agent better and better over time, you can tune certain preferences or something that maybe on the next run, it actually like, expands that set from 75 to 100, right? So it gives you sort of optionality for
Absolutely.
actually how this thing like runs as opposed to how you think it runs.
So we're going to give more reasoning traces here in our thinking, as you pointed out, right? So what we'll do is link back to the whole trace, the verifiability trace here, so the person can actually also, as you said, validate the thinking process.
Hmm.
Because typically this doesn't mean anything for a
Hmm.
user, right? There is zero understanding of what really happened. But yes, absolutely, that makes a lot of difference, especially when you're doing high value transactions.
Hmm.
So, like for us, you can even do stuff like buy me $10 off 0x month, buy virtuals on base chain, set a TP of 30% and SL of 10%.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you can do basically you can set take profits, you can put stop losses, and this is one of the most popular features where people kind of just put their token because it's impossible to catch ups and downs in this kind of a market, right? Which is
Hmm.
highly compressed. Like it takes 3 days, business days for tokens to go up and down at time.
Right.
So a lot of
Yeah.
people actually use us for this, where they uh, just set a TPSL, transfer the token from their existing wallet, set it here, and then once it hits that exact amount we sell it. Now again,
Hmm.
this is something which requires very high determinism, right?
Hmm.
This cannot happen without it. For some reason my transaction failed, but yes, this is where it should happen. It should actually purchase this token. But yeah, so you can set limit orders as well. When BTC goes below 100k, buy $5 of Eigen, let's say. So these are again very high determinism tasks, which is interesting bit here is we let the LLM parse it,
Hmm.
and we let the LLM figure out the actual limit order or the rule. So it's like
Right.
a rules engine powering it actually, and we let the LLM figure out the rule. The traditional methods used to be some sort of regex or
Yeah,
heuristics,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
to
exactly.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
Nice.
So
Okay.
it found a lot of eigen tokens. Yep. So I'll have to
Yeah.
specify the right
Yeah.
eigen, which is this. But yeah, surprisingly,
Yeah.
even you guys have these copycats.
No, I mean everyone does, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
crazy. If you can just launch a token, like there's gonna be at least 5 or 10 or something.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yep. So,
So,
this is the kind of transaction which can happen. So, again, as I said, imagine this as an intern, which is
mhm.
basically, trying to build a platform which can actually
I'm not sure what happened to Aaron.
I think that's Aaron's.
Okay. Well, anyways, until he comes back. Um, Yeah, I think we're just at the start of these things, especially like, I've always thought it was interesting how LLMs are, trying to replicate the capabilities of the brain, obviously. And like the brain is the most complex object we know in the universe, right? And then when you also look
Right,
at like financial markets are also like one of the most like higher order complexity things like we also know, right?
right.
So when you like just like throw the intelligence capabilities with autonomy into financial markets, the overlap of those two is going to become like something that is like very, very like complex in and of itself, right? So I just think that like this will redefine how like markets will end up working, and like especially like tapping into the long tail of the markets is gonna be very, very interesting over the next 5 to 10 years.
Sure, of course, it is going to be. I think and if you look at the whole way this ecosystem is evolving, right? There are agents and there is cryptocurrencies, which is like the native currency of a machine system, right? And
Hmm.
then right now, we are also talking about X402s, which
Yeah.
is payments, right? So this whole ecosystem is evolving in a very beautiful way, and I think being able to verifiability and trustworthiness are I think the most solid foundations on which this ecosystem can thrive and be adopted by millions and billions.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, financial markets are just a type of information market, but as we were talking about
Right,
earlier, right, there's like you can also tap into prediction markets as well and like look at
right.
events that are not just like financially like related, right? But like prediction markets like the hot new meta, right? So I'm sure you guys have been looking into that as well. Are there any things that um you guys are looking into that or that have caught your eye in terms of how you're building FereAI that can also like serve people who are interested in prediction markets?
Sure. I think our approach towards prediction market is more on the discoverability aspects. Like for example, when you land on Polymarket Cap homepage, right? And
Hmm.
these guys have done some tremendous job in bringing a lot of users and volume on board, right, with prediction
Hmm.
markets. So they're doing amazing work. But if you look at their homepage, it seems pretty much static, right? Like 40% of the content is still the same because they use their own algorithms to order these things. When you
Hmm.
look at the actual crowd, the legion crowd, and the crypto, native audiences, they are looking for something that goes along with the whole instant gratification aspect. So how do you make sure that these audience receive that sooner, right? You don't want to end up making 6 months long predictions, but something that is more sooner, that can happen quickly, and you can do a research in much better and a much better and much aware research using
Hmm.
FereAI or other tools in the market. So our idea is around being able to promote and discover better options there and suggest that to user. This is something we are, I think, working on, and we should have something coming up pretty soon around
Nice,
it.
that's awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, going back to sort of how powerful like LLMs as a mechanism are, right? When
right,
you like as a data source, let's say, you come across an audio file, right? That gives you some information about that relates to some prediction market, right? If you just inherently have the ability to like verifiably and at a high quality enough level interpret the content of that audio file, as opposed to like, I mean, yeah, you can run it through like audio to like text transformers that we have had before, right? But if you can just throw it into an LLM, right, that you can have a guarantee of quality of how that audio is interpreted, or even
right,
images, right, or like something, right, that changes your
right,
understanding of the importance of that prediction market and how like it can resolve. Um, the trading agent, because it has all this infrastructure, and has all the reasoning capabilities of the LLMs underneath it, right? It can just like use its existing sort of rails to interpret like general world events as opposed to just text at that point, right?
right, right.
So it becomes a much more higher leverage sort of vehicle for people to express or kind of like hunt for alpha, let's say.
Right. And then if you look at the market dynamics on which prediction markets depend, right, it's very diverse. It's broad, and audiophile images are one example. But even, looking at all the news and information and misinformation, right, they both
Sure.
spreading equally
Yeah.
there. How do you ensure that your agents making decisions, or even doing a research there,
Yeah.
goes through a verifiable, trustable process. So I think
Mhm.
this is definitely the core piece there.
Yeah, and like something you can do, right, is let's say you're looking at 20 different sources to make up your mind, right?
Mm.
Um, as you said, maybe like four of them are fake news or fake items, right? But then like you do have like some threshold, like 66%, let's say, right? That like, hey, if like semantically, right, the content of 16 of these sources is equivalent or similar enough, right? That gets you over that confidence threshold of being able to trust that like updates in your priors of like how you like can interpret this event, right? It's like
Right.
there are like dynamic sort of thresholds or dynamic systems that you can build around information feeds that can give you some assurances around fakeness or realness or things like that.
Right, and this is definitely one step, but and also if you complement this information with social validation, like the
Hmm.
kind of profiles who are spreading this information, what is their
Right.
legitimacy, what is their track record, then all of a sudden you have much richer and much
Right.
much better content surfacing that can actually help you
Hmm.
make better informed decisions there.
Yeah, depending on who said it, you give a different weighting to that
Right,
source. Yeah.
right,
um
right.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited for what you guys are cooking up on that front as well. Aaron, I know you're back. We lost you for a little bit. Any
Yes.
thoughts on that on this topic we're just discussing?
I actually disconnected on the prediction market bit, and I think
Okay.
Pranav mentioned it. But yeah, I think for us the core is how to teach AI crypto, how to
Hmm.
make AI crypto native, right? So be it prediction market, be it perps, be it anything where any form of crypto is involved. We really want to reach a stage where everyone can kind of get their personal assistant on Ferret who can unravel the complexity for them. Like, crypto does have a bit of complexity. This is something we all have to live
More
with,
than a
right?
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is something we have to live with. But I think LLMs are super powerful in making sure that complexity can be abstracted away for the users, right?
Hmm.
One thing they're epic at is figuring user intent. So
Hmm.
if agents can learn how to use crypto or capture intent properly, I think that is
Hmm.
the value we want to really add.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, there is this sort of like notion that is being introduced by the Web2 providers of like, you can make things higher utility, you can things more make more com you can make things more convenient and products more agentic, right? But you don't actually have a guarantee that the outcomes that the user gets are actually uh aligned with the user's preferences and goals for the medium to long term as well, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's kind of like where I think crypto shines, right? It's like you can make commitments around these goals that the user has, and you know for sure that the agent that's operating on behalf of the user will abide by that alignment, as opposed to you kind of like assuming or maybe like on blind faith trusting that this thing actually will move money in a certain way. So um,
Absolutely.
very, very excited. So with having said all of that, I think this is a good place for us to maybe wrap up. Thanks for walking through the demos, you guys. Any other words before we part here?
Thanks for having us around, Nima. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And yep, I think this is going to be a fun build working with Eigen. To be honest, I think there's a lot
Mhm.
of stuff up your sleeve which is going to come, which we are going to be users of. And I think our users actually get that benefit very quickly, right? So this is going to be fun. I think the next 6 to 7 months, a lot of things will be broken by crypto, and I think we guys will start competing with Web2 teams.
Well, yeah, I mean, people like reliability around how LLMs work, so I don't think this is a Web3 specific thing. There's a lot of folks in Web2 who are going to find this interesting. And I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
even like the ex CTO of like OpenAI, right? Or company Thinking Machines, like they
Yes.
talked about non-determinism being something that can be like kind of defeated, right? So there is very much a lot of interest in in the AI circles to figure out how reproducibility can give rise to just better AI systems. So we're just getting started. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Very excited to be building with you and very much looking forward to what's to come.
Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Nima.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Talk to you later.